So yeah, I'm Antoine. I'm the director of the Facebook AI Research Lab in Paris and London, and I'm going to talk to you about like conversation, dialogue, agent, and AI. Just before that, I just wanted to give like a 2 minutes summary on the location. So the timer hasn't started, so I can go on for like 45 minutes. I have no problem about that, by the way. So just in interest of time. Yeah, so brief introduction for Facebook AI Research. So it's a lab that was created 5 years ago now. So it's, I mean, in the era of AI, in general, it's pretty short, but the era of the new AI is pretty long now. And it was created by Yann Lequin with the mandate of trying to do like fundamental AI research. So really basic research, trying to tackle the basic problems. Now we are around like more than 200 people in 8 locations in the world, and the closest to us are Paris and London. And we're doing like work all around the AI space, from RL to vision, speech, and even platform. I think PyTorch has been mentioned a couple times. We are the main developer of the PyTorch platform. So the core mission of our lab is out there, is to advance the state of the art of AI through open research for the benefit of all. It's very important. It's not like our work is not directly tied to Facebook product or agenda. It's really tied to AI research, which means that the researcher we have can actually work on any topic they want, and everything they do is open source and published. Okay, so really the way to define our lab is not necessarily to say we're working RL or we're working vision. The way we define ourselves is more by our values. And the values, the 2 main ones are the first 2, which is openness, really trying to share, and everything I'm going to talk about in the following of the talk is open source and on archive, and also freedom in the sense that the researcher come up with their project, and we try to support them so that they can actually make them succeed. We also try to have collaboration, of course, with internal partners of Facebook, with product teams, for instance, or applied research lab, or with academia and universities, trying to focus on impactful projects, not too many, but impactful ones, and of course, trying to make them scale if we can. So the goal of my talk today is to try to talk about conversation. The starting point is that we believe that we talked a lot about AI, we talked about accessibility for AI. AI should be in the hands of the most people. Yesterday, if you were there yesterday evening for the event with Guy Kasparov, I think there was a lot of discussion around inclusion, AI, etc. We feel that if we want AI to be accessible to the most people, we need to have a good interface. And the best interface we can have, besides code, but not everybody can code, is language, natural language. So there is more than just social assistant or vocal assistant. For us, language should be the interface between the AI in the digital world and humans. And so that's why we really put a lot of effort in the lab to try to actually improve the way we can do that. Okay? So in this talk, I will talk about conversation, not necessarily exactly the way we see dialogue usually, because I think that we have to go back if we want to actually achieve a leap forward in dialogue, and a leap forward in actually having agent with which we can actually converse the way we are conversing with humans, then we need actually to go back at conversation. And so I put this quote from Grice, from his famous book from 1975, Logic and Conversation, which basically tries to define, the whole group tries to define what's a good conversation and what's the system of mutual knowledge and exchange through conversation. And basically the citation is, make your contribution such as required at the stage at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. So what it means, and you could read the whole book, but what it means is basically when you engage in a conversation with someone, there is basically some kind of a contract, and implicit contract, implicit rules, in the which that everybody is sharing the same rules so the conversation can work. The rules are as follows. In purpose, you don't try to mislead someone. What you say is basically you try to convey an information that you want to be conveyed. In purpose, you don't try to over-explain things. Okay, you try to give the right amount of information so that the person you're talking to is actually understand what you need. Not like throwing with information, but not saying too little, which means that basically all the time you're adapting to the person you're talking to so that the message goes well. And so there is a set of rules, and the conclusion we have in the lab is that it seems that right now, the current dialogue system, most of those, actually, they put task completion before proper conversation. What I mean by that is that we're interested in having an assistant that can play music, that can set a timer, that can maybe do answer questions, etc., which are very interesting tasks. But by doing that, we focus really on trying to make them focus on the task, and we forget about, okay, what would it make to make a good conversation first before putting the task? Or maybe actually we can develop the two in parallel. And so for us in our research, try to say, okay, we also need to have machines that are good at conversation. And so in the rest of the time I have, I will show you a bunch of projects, very, very recent projects. Most of the papers are from 2018. Okay, so it's really ongoing work about the way we're trying to actually advance the way machine can learn to do a good conversation. So no, it's not like scripted, it's learned. And so the three directions are going to give them a bit of background personality, background knowledge, and also an access to a perceptual 3D world. So all the methods are going to be learning the behavior. And so we're in the realm of like end-to-end dialogue system, in the sense that the dialogue system are parameterized with neural network. A few of them, multiple of them, different blocks. There can also be symbolic modules. I'm not going to go into the detail. But the basic is that we would like to see how much we can do by learning this model from data. Okay? The data can be historical, so extract of conversations, or something else, or it can be actually live from conversation. Okay. And of course, multimodal. So the first direction is going to try to see what we can do with having dialogue system that can be conditioned on a biography. So the way we do in this project is that basically what you see on, what you see here is that we are going to give an agent a small biography, which is very simple, just given in words, okay? And then we are going to try to converse with the agent, and the agent has to use the biography during the conversation. So the humans are in blue and the agents are in green, okay? And so you see that, hi, how are you? Great, I just had a nice steak, how about you? So when you say that, it's basically you're grounding that on this field. Okay, it doesn't, by itself, it doesn't solve any problem, but what we want to see is that maybe we can actually give background story that are actually useful, or we can actually ground on the user background story. So actually grounded on the person you're talking to, which is basically then you try to, what I was saying, try to adapt to what the user know or don't know. And we did user study with that, and what we show is that we ask the user to talk to this bot with or without the biography. So without is in blue, with it in green, and we try to ask them to rate on the rank between like 0 and 5 their experience. And basically when you see that when you have the biography and when you just have a conversation with a bot, then you can improve in terms of fluency, engagingness, and also consistency. The last one is very important. Usually the bots don't really have a core knowledge of themselves, of course, and so they can actually fluctuate to what they know, and basically try not being very consistent in their conversation. If you ground them into personality, we see that this is actually improving. A second way where we can actually try to add personality is more to go to personality traits, okay? So, or emotional, I would say, impulse, in the sense that the bot can also try to answer differently given different emotional states. Okay, so here the project was about trying to comment on an image. Okay, it's not captioning in the sense that we don't expect a description. For this picture, a description could be, this is a cat on a couch with a bow tie. Okay, which I think it's hard to do already, and machines are pretty good at doing that now. Here it's more like, can you comment on this image? And of course, in this project, it was not necessarily the commenting, but like, can you comment with some personality traits? So here you see examples of personality commands that have been generated using different personalities. So you could say, if you're sweet, you could generate, oh, that's a cute kitty. Or if you're old-fashioned, you could actually more focus on the bow tie and say, that's a glorious bow tie, etc. And by doing that, of course, we control everything. We control the personality traits, etc. But by doing that, we show that, so this experiment is comparing, basically we are asking a human to rate comments, to choose between two comments every time. And a comment that be generated by a human, it's in blue, and a comment be generated by a model, it's in red. And what we see is that on the first round of conversation, so you give the image and you're commenting, basically humans feel that almost, so this is the rate at which they're choosing. They basically choose almost as often the model than the human. So there is, they feel that it's actually interesting or engaging. And as you go, so this is the first round of conversation, second round, third round. As you go, the difference increase because the model is not good enough to keep up with a good conversation as a human would do. Otherwise, I would tell you. The second line of work in terms of improving the conversation skill is by adding knowledge. Okay, so the traditional way that dialogue model and assistant are using knowledge is through question answering. Okay, like basically in this project, you ask a question, how many of Warsaw's inhabitants spoke Polish in 1933, and then you have a system that's going to try to answer the question. Okay, in this system, 2 steps. The first step is to go in Wikipedia to find articles that are relevant, and then a model is reading the Wikipedia articles to try to answer. Okay? This can be useful. You can put that in a bot where you ask questions, but you're not reading the conversation, you're more in the question answering world. Okay? So what we try to do is use same kind of pipeline, but for augmented conversation. So in this case, we still use Wikipedia as a knowledge source, but we don't necessarily ask the bot to answer questions. We just use the bot to try to use Wikipedia to be interesting when they're talking to someone. So here I'm not going to read the whole example, but basically in this paper we give a topic to the bot and to a human, and they have to have conversation. So the bot is in green, and here they're talking about ebooks. And you could say, for instance, the second answer or the third answer are pretty long, and they're generated by the bot. They're pretty long because they're using some information that comes from the ebook page, okay? So the fact that it's better to hold a real book, to turn pages, or etc. I mean, I'm not going to read everything. But basically what we see is that there is an addition of knowledge, and we can actually measure that comes in the conversation when you actually give some kind of mechanism for the bot to look at Wikipedia and use it to condition the generation, and not just for answering. So we did a human study as well, which asked humans to compare having a conversation with a human, which is in blue, a system without the knowledge, which is in I would say, cyan, and the green one, which is the bot with the knowledge. And to our despair, so far, it seems that when we look at it, the system is able to use knowledge and to generate different answers. The conversations are different, but basically when talking to a human, it doesn't mean that the conversation is either more interesting or more realistic. It seems that the model is pushing too much knowledge. It's actually basically pretty annoying by that. It's like someone who really wants to teach you stuff all the time, and at some point you give up. Okay, so that's the way that it's actually not solved. The last point I wanted to talk about is perceptual environment. You know, we are all embodied, and we feel that there is one way in which we expect the system to be able to relate to us is that if they can also have perceptual abilities. And so this project, if I can maybe play it again, I don't know if it works, is this project visual question answering, but in 3D environment, where you ask an agent a question, and the agent has to move and act in the environment to answer. And so by doing that, we start to actually try to bridge the two gaps. And we bridge it even more in the sense that we're working with the AR, VR team at Facebook, and they actually they can create super realistic. So this is a 3D environment, completely artificial, but that really look real. And so the objective for us is to try to put agent in some of this realistic environment to try to move forward. Okay. And this environment actually has been released 2 weeks ago, open source. The project is called Habitat. So to conclude, I want to finish with some challenges and perspective. So first of all, in the challenges, everything I showed is very, very recent research. Not everything is working as expected. And the big challenges is try to put everything together. Right now we have one experiment which is using personality trait, one experiment using biography, one experiment using knowledge. Of course, you would like to combine everything, and a lot of challenges come. There is the other challenge, which is everything trained that I showed here has been trained on historical data that was collected. All the data that we use for experiment is open source, by the way, so you can reproduce if you want. Of course, there is a challenge about deployment, because these models are deployed, and what can you do when you're actually talking to them? Can you actually leverage this as well? And the last point that I put last, but it's because it's maybe the most important of all, is the point of trust, safety, and transparency. I said at the beginning that we want to have agents that are better at conversation so that we actually have a closer connection to them. This closer connection will only happen if we trust those agents. And trust comes in multiple ways. and it's our responsibility to build it inside. And one of the main points, I think, to start with, is that the agents should declare themselves that they actually are bots and not trying to impersonate people. This is really clear for us, and this is going to be true all along for us. The last slide is just to show this platform, which is called Parley, parl.ai. This is a platform for dialogue research where all our code and our data is. Thank you very much.